For me, the revolution is over. I'm living my life. I'm living in an alternative culture. And I feel that the only successful way that the revolution ever can be over is for more and more people to just drop out and start living alternative lifestyles, start living on the land, out of the big cities, out of contact with the government, away from the coercive agencies of government, police, engineering boards, city planners, city governments, tax collectors. And it can be done. People can do it. We have hassles right here, but we live a 100% less restricted life than the average citizen does, in that we do as we want, the way we want it, and we feel our responsibility towards each and every person as a brother and as a sister, instead of as a law-abiding citizen. It is an experience type of thing. You don't attend classes. Living isn't all about attending classes. You live. We each learn from and teach each other. Everybody should try to develop at least one of the basic survival skills. Farming would be a very good one. Or hunting, building, mechanics, auto mechanics can be very helpful. You know, if they learn that, they won't have to be dependent on other people as much. We live in a community, and it's my feeling that everybody should live in small communities. Do we have enough people here? We have an engineer, an architect. We have some very good carpenters, a very good mechanic. We have some really great cooks, and we're trying to turn other people on to living outside of the coercive society and to not being a consumer through the paper that we put out and just through personal contact with people. I feel that we could go back to small craftsman-like factories where perhaps a few people will work as craftsmen did, as blacksmiths did 100 years ago. Such a shop with proper equipment could produce a tractor. It can be a tractor that doesn't pollute. The factories are driving the people to produce more simply for the sake of money, instead of to produce something that's really great. If people, become skilled artisans again, something that's lost here in this country, the products will be much better. There will be fewer of them, but there won't have to be as many because they won't break as often. We use technology here, building solar heated water heaters.
That's what I did. I went around Europe and I found out what was going on, And when I found out, it really freaked me out because where I was brought up, it just wasn't like that. It was a nice, closed community, and it was protected and safe, and everything was all right, and there was always enough food, and nobody really, ran around trying to get each other and stuff. So then I came back to America, and I traveled around for a long time, about 9 months. I live in a lot of different cities. I live at a lot of different colleges. I live at Harvard and I live in Berkeley, and that's about the two weirdest colleges. And I think I got into that a little bit, seeing when those guys were out, the smart people in the country, and I met a lot of the professors and stuff. Well, I still didn't think they were where it's at because they were still out for like academic privileges and to get farther up in academic, and the students were just liking to get in a good job still. A lot of them were smoking dope and taking LSD and even taking heroin. It's funny that students at Harvard took heroin. So then I got myself on a commune in Canada, and I lived there a couple months and just started experimenting with getting my true self out, you know what I mean? And experimenting with like not having to be paranoid about all the people and just working with a group of people. I was about 8. We were house painters. And then I thought the climate was too cold and everybody I knew was a draft resistor, and I was wondering what's happening, that everybody was leaving, So then I came back to America and I started taking a lot of LSD. And the LSD was just completely blew me away. It just knocked my entire old basis out, and I had to deal with this whole new reality I didn't understand. And it was actually what I found out was just the reality that everybody lives in all the time, and I was just alienated from it for years and years and years. And it was a lot like waking up from a deep sleep. That sounds funny, but I think it happened. It's long. I do think it happened because I feel like it's been more refined, especially here at Heathcote. After a while, it was just too much. I think I went crazy for a short time. I stayed at my parents' house for 2 or 3 months, and I was in bed for a long time. And I was just completely shocked that, like, reality was this thing that we were, like, locked out of, and it scared the heck out of me. I couldn't understand, like, why was it so hard to just be with oneself and to, like, live with people. It just didn't make any sense. So 2.5 years ago, I came to Heathcote. And now I've learned a little more how to relate to people and a little more how not to, like, behave in stylized dramas, and just try to figure out, you know, that the world's not is far out, and it's not really a horrible place. It's that the cities are horrible and the social system's horrible. The world itself is still really far out. It still works, and still the light's still pretty, and it's still far out.
The reason that I left the city was because I felt like in order to break certain cultural patterns that I no longer want to be a part of, that I had to be in a healthy environment, or an environment that had less conflict, and that in order to become a healthier and whole person, that I had to be in an environment that was healthy and whole, and so I moved to the country. And since I've been here, I've met other people who are in the same who are looking in the same direction. For instance, this farm. Women here who have worked, who've been in the city and who've come here and are trying to live a full life in the country by having sheep and goats and cats and chickens and stuff. All the way up Middle Ridge Road, there are people who come together for music and poetry, and the people here people who've been here for any length of time have become more aware of the games that they've played in the city, and since they've been here, they've taught a lot of other people, and more and more, this whole area is becoming like a community of people who share things together. Like, I buy milk here rather than buy it at the store. It's healthier. I know what the animals have been fed. We come together, and then we go away and be by ourselves, and to do our own growing as individuals. Most people are very poor. A lot of people live without electricity, without running water, without all the main luxuries of life. Like, I don't have a toilet. You know, I go out into the woods. So that rather than my life becoming a habit, you know, of like going and switching on the electricity, everything seems to be new. If I walk outside, you know, I look at the trees in a new way each day, and to slowly get away from patterns and habits which only interfere with our lives, and rather than make us whole people.
And I think the Vietnam War has kind of like pushed all of us to like make some stand. And I think, like our stand has been like a general strike. Our stand has been to refuse to support the society with our skills and our tax money and our abilities, and to try to go off in the bush where we are and try to build something that's more meaningful, that is more gentle, that's more loving, that's more peaceful. Something that we're not afraid to bring our children up into. I myself have been arrested 8 times in demonstrations, and you can just do that for so long, and then you say, well, here I am, and I'm a young man, and what am I going to do with my life, So one of the things that I tried to do with my life, one of my lives, was I decided to become a commercial success. I went on this incredible Horatio Alger trip, and I worked my way up, and I became executive, and I had the 2 cars and a house in the Berkeley Hills, and I just could not go on living with myself any longer. I mean, because even though I had all the things that money could buy, I had no life, and I couldn't sleep at night, and I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. The political lies are much easier to see through than the social lies and the sexual lies. And a lot of these are not, malicious lies. I mean, I don't have any tremendous feeling of hostility really toward my parents or toward the straight society. It's just another level of consciousness. And in that particular level of consciousness, I mean, these people tried to do the best they could. But in a lot of ways, we've been liberated from a lot of other problems that our parents have had. Well, one of the most important things in my father's upbringing was just to have enough to eat. Like everything else, exactly, our heads, we're much more advanced intellectually than we are actually physically. That we are talking the talk a little bit more than we're walking the walk. And we feel that by returning to the land and by harvesting our own food and building our own buildings and providing all the basic, as much as we possibly can of the basic necessities of life, that'll get us higher and return us more to the center and make us more independent of the machine. We're trying to build in our own stumbling, bumbling way a new society within the shell of the old. And I think one of the things that's obvious to all of us is that capitalism is just a really bankrupt economic system. It seemed to me in my life you have to have all the goodies that they lure you into the society with, you have to, in a sense, first be a success in order to throw it all out, because it's very hard to know whether you are a bohemian or a misfit or a hippie or a dropout or an anarchist or a wobbly or a communist. It becomes very confusing whether you are in this particular spot because you are a misfit or too fit. At this point, the only choice really seems to me in the United States is either survival from without or sabotage from within. I think the society has gotten to a point where that's the only 2 choices open for an honest man.
got here, like, Lam had already been here for 5 years, and I had to deal with a lot of establishment. We're our own establishment. We're kind of like, in many ways, the aristocrats of communities. We have a bad reputation. When people talk about getting high here, you become closer to God. You see that which is divine in yourself, and the way I do that is by getting low, down to the mother. That's why I'm living inside of her now. Because I'm satisfied with this body, you know, and this life, and this earth. And I want to accept them fully. I don't want to get away from them. I don't want to get up there. I just want to be more fully where I am and what I am. And maybe it's the same thing. Maybe it's just a difference in approach, a difference in style. Whether you get high or you get low, or you don't get anywhere. I know that there's nowhere to go. That if I stay right here on my spot and I just watch and I'm careful, that everything will come to me. Like all the nourishment of every kind that I need, all the lovers, all the teachers, all the food will come to me if I have that faith. And it's not a faith in anything. You know, it's just faith. It's faith in nothing, maybe. Kind of blind that way. Sometimes that takes a lot of concentrated energy just to keep awake, just to, you know, see what's living here on the mountain with you. You know? And I write it down in a book, you know. I try to be careful that way. And I see the things that grow here and the things that live here, and I just want to know them in all the stages of their age and youth and birth and death. You know, the ones that live much longer than me and the ones that live just a few of my days. And I don't have to go anywhere, but all the same, you know, when I get off center, I want to go, you know, the rest of this country. I want to get on the interstate freeway. Just go, you know, try to make it different, try to change it, stay alive by finding something new. You know. So there are no enlightened beings here. You know, people get the wrong idea. They come up and they want something, you know. They want to change, and maybe we can help them do that. Even though, you know, we have nothing special, we have no monopoly on the light, whatever that is. As someone came here once to see someone who lives here. He'd come all the way from Chicago. He had heard about this guy, you know, and you know, he's just one of the people who's living here. He's just like the rest of us, no one in particular. And he came all the way from Chicago just to see him, and he came up to him and said, "Help me, you know, I'm in trouble. I want to change. I want to get out of those old ways. I want to be someone new." And this guy's first reaction was to say, "Well, you know, who am I? I can't help you." But the very fact that he had come expecting to be helped was enough so that he could be helped. You know. He was ready for something, you know, to change. People are going through a lot of very difficult changes. The family that formed the hub of this community broke up last summer with a lot of pain and a lot of just the old, you know, rotten guts. We certainly haven't gotten through that yet. We're trying to learn how to live as a family. Well, who do the children belong to? That's another one. Do the children have one mother and one father, or do they have all these mothers and all these fathers, and how far am I willing to go, to take care of the children, be aware of their lives, even though they're not of my blood, maybe. How far am I willing to go? I think that's really what it comes down to. How much of a family can we become? And right now, it hurts a lot. People seem very much by themselves a lot of the time. And you break through that every once in a while, like it opens up and you can see right through. You can see a brilliant light there, which is what community can become, I think. I don't have any children myself. Living here, I'm just starting to become aware of children's lives, and maybe aware of the fact that we're all fathers and all orphans at the same time, and that we've just got to take care of each other.